Looking to improve your life, brush up on your personal growth techniques? You are in the right place. Welcome to Life's Little Lessons with your host, author of Designing Your Own Destiny, Kevin A. Dunlap.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Life's Little Lessons. Today, I have a gentleman on my show that I've seen him grow from just being another seminar goer, sitting in a classroom. We've actually had a couple of different conferences and seminars that we've gone to actually being on stage with some of this company. He is a coach. He's called himself a GPS coach, and he is absolutely phenomenal. His energy is out of this world. You're going to find out some things about him that he just really pushes the envelope on how he does his podcast and how he does his live shows. So today I'm going to be welcoming to the show, Chris Burns. Chris, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here. And, I really shout out to personal development, to seminars, to having places where like-minded individuals can gather together, because podcasts, seminars, all these places, we live in amazing times. And I'm just so grateful to be connected with you and all these amazing human beings around us, man. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, I was actually talking to my friend Junita. She goes, Kevin, you should ask Chris Burns. I go, oh, no, Chris is too busy. He's got all these other shows and stuff going. I could do my little wimpy little podcast, but I reached out and he said yes. Then we had to reschedule once, and now we're here today.
Yes, we are. Ready to rock and roll, baby.
All right, then. So Chris, tell the viewers or the listeners, because this is mainly an audio show, tell the listeners, what is it that you do? Why is it that you do it?
Yeah. So I am the head coach of Burn It Up Coaching, and we help solopreneurs and entrepreneurs who are stuck, self-sabotaging, and getting in their own way to get unstuck and back into flow so they can build better businesses and make a bigger impact in the world. And I'm all about impact. I love impacting people. And another way we facilitate impact is through our 12-hour personal development marathon that we live stream on Facebook every single week. And that's from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every Wednesday. And it's Pacific, by the way, California time. Gotta love Cali. So it's from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific. And we interview up to 9 guests every week. We do an hour of group coaching. We do an hour of a book review. We're going through Think and Grow Rich right now, studying that, dissecting that. And it's just so much fun. And we help these leaders, great role models, and people changing the world to get their message out, because I believe that's really what is needed in our time and day today in this era of life. How can we grow together? How can we share our messages together? How can we unite with people who have similar values? And I love that I get to meet and interview and connect and build relationships with my role models and the people who I look up to. And I've created a seminar, so to speak, in a box or in a tube on this weekly 12-hour personal development live stream marathon, which then goes to a podcast about 4 weeks later, each of the interviews that we do. And that is called Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. So the website for that is beyourgps.com. Super simple. And Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, it's my baby. We're coming up on our year anniversary, and that will be on February 10th. I believe the date that this is being recorded is February 2nd. So February 10th, we're going to be passing that up, and super excited. We've done 42 marathons so far. And it's a blast, man. It is such a blast. Interviewed over 185 different leaders and role models and people changing the world. And the why behind it is, I'll tell you how the marathon started, and then we can go back a little bit more into the story, into the journey. But how the marathon started is me and my business partner, we were building our coaching business. We didn't have a really stable program. I knew I had coaching abilities and skills, but I didn't know how to package that up and present it to these solopreneurs who wanted to grow their businesses. So we said, how can we generate revenue? And for everyone who's listening, if you don't have clarity on your product, your service, whatever it is that you're working on, find people around you who have something that you believe in. Find people around you who have values, who are similar to you, that you can stand behind. And that's what we did. We found joint venture partners, and one in particular was having a webinar. And we said, how can we get more people into this webinar to generate cash and help grow our company? And we said, well, let's do some organic methods of advertising and driving traffic. So we were messaging people, we were doing Facebook Lives, posting up memes, finding every way we could to do organic advertising. And about 2 days before the webinar was happening with this joint venture partner, we had, I think, a couple dozen registrations, nothing super huge, right? We said, how can we drive more traffic to this? What are we going to do? So my business partner and I, we like to think bigger to outgrow our problems, right? When you have a problem, you can't solve it with the same level of thinking that got you that problem. So you got to think bigger. You got to outgrow your problems. And so we said, we could do a Facebook Live and drive traffic by interviewing this joint venture partner and have people find out about how awesome he is and then go to his webinar. And so we said, okay, do we want to do like an hour-long Facebook Live, 2 hours? Nah, it's too mediocre. It's too small thinking. We want to think bigger. 4 hours, 8 hours. No, we're going 12 hours straight. And that very first one, we did 12 hours straight. And we said, this is so awesome. We love doing this. There was a ton of engagement, a ton of viewers and audience participation. We said, we're going to continue doing this. And 42 marathons later, that's where we're at, and putting people up on the stage in the spotlight, helping them get their message out.
And then you say after the show, after the marathon show is over, off that Wednesday after 9 p.m. Pacific,
Yep.
now you said 4 weeks later, you're actually breaking those marathons down into single interviews that you're putting out on your podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. Podcast and YouTube. We keep both the video and the audio. And for everyone who is starting things up, startup phase, or you're scaling and you're barely hanging on to your business, that you're just trying to keep the ship together. You know, Kevin and I were talking about this right before this. Like, you're putting out fires. All you're doing, you're focused on how do I put out all these fires? It's a challenge, it's a challenge, but really the gift is you get to expand your capacity. And that's something that I really value, is expanding, is becoming a greater human being that can handle anything that comes my way. And I didn't always have this mindset. I didn't always have this drive, this vision to impact people. In fact, I would say I started off very selfish and introverted and quiet, and I didn't like to be in reality. Now, what does that mean? I didn't like to be in reality. Well, like many people, many millennials these days, I played a lot of video games. And I was always in my room playing video games. I got started on them very young, about 5 years old. And I was installing video game demos with my dad on his computer. That was our bonding activity, a father-son bonding activity. And I just fostered this love for technology and curiosity for how it works. How does technology work? How do these video games work? How does a computer work? And taking things apart, building motorcycles with my dad and all kinds of amazing things. So I'm grateful for my dad and my parents for really instilling in my sister and I this spirit of curiosity and how things work. So if you're out there listening, invite yourself, give yourself permission to be a little bit more curious, because it makes life even more fun, and play. Okay. And these video games had me play. They had me show up and dive into these games with an objective mindset. How do I get to the goal? How do I get to the end? How do I win? Now, fast forward about 10, 15 years, and these video games had become my life. I found meaning in my life because of video games. And outside of video games, at school, junior high, for example, I felt like I was a little shrimp, like a little small, insignificant, borderline worthless, powerless shrimp. And I just got smaller and smaller as the time went on, because I didn't know how to express myself. My parents, God bless their hearts, did everything that they knew to do, everything that they could, and taught me and my sister everything that they could. Yet, for some reason, I still wasn't able to express myself. I still wasn't able to feel like I could share with them the deepest, darkest, most intimate parts of myself. And so I started repressing the guilt and the shame. Stupid things like we had a dog growing up, and I was abusive to this dog, and I didn't know any better. Right? I didn't know how to treat things around me with kindness, because I was so frustrated, and I started turning the anger and rage inward on me. I didn't know how to channel that. So where did I go? I went to video games and I started talking trash. I started being aggressive and violent and playing lots of violent video games. And that's where I got my sense of satisfaction. That's where I got my sense of power. That's where I got my chemical release in my brain that I was significant. I was important. Right. And so I kept on that trajectory and noticed that, man, I really suck at life. And my very first girlfriend, my best friend had to ask her out for me because I was unwilling to ask her out. I was just so afraid. I was afraid of rejection. My spirit was so fragile. And if anyone is out there and you have a fragile spirit, or you're afraid, or you're concerned of what people think of you, I get it. I really do. And there is hope for you wherever you're at, whatever level. I would say I was really introverted and didn't want to pick up the phone, didn't want to talk to anyone. Even when my friends came over and wanted to go outside, I said, no, I just want to play video games. You can go play outside. I'm going to stay here. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I want to do. So fast forward a couple years, and I start getting into partying to be able to feel something, right? To get out of this, I got into this state of numbness that video games provided me. It's like, oh, just do the same thing over and over again, jump online, go shoot some people up, and just not really have anything that's meaningful or joyous or loving in my life. And my parents would take me on vacations and I'd be miserable the whole time, saying, take me back. I want to go back to my room. That's the one place I want to be. I don't want to be on vacation in Hawaii or the Caribbean or anywhere, Mexico. I don't want to be here. Take me back. And so I started going to rebel against my parents and find feeling and meaning in my life. I started going to parties and started partying more and more. And eventually I got into the dance music scene and electronic music and raves and stuff like that. And I started getting into drugs and going down that dark path. And that lasted for about 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I... luckily not my whole life, right? Some people, it takes a lot longer to wake up, but my wake up moment, I was at a San Bernardino rave, San Bernardino, California. And next thing I know, I'm drunk, going in buzzed, just like not caring at all about anything. I go in buzzed, and the next thing I know, I'm arrested, and I get taken to San Bernardino County Jail. And I'm in there and just looking at my life, asking myself, why am I here? Why am I here? What did I do to get here? Meanwhile, I'm going through electrical engineering school to get my degree, about to graduate, and I'm partying, throwing my life away, potentially throwing my life down the drain. And so I hit this rock bottom moment. And luckily the charges were dropped. The case was dismissed. But I had to jump on the phone with my mom. Jump on the phone. I was not jumping. I had to pick up the phone in shame and fear and agony. And it was terrifying. And tell my mom that I was in jail.
Yeah. Actually, I've been there myself one time. So I was actually, were you living at home at the time?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. This was on Easter weekend, 1986. I was helping a friend not get in a bar fight, so I was using my car to help do it. So I got arrested that Friday night, and I was in the military at the time, going to A school.
Oh.
So, and this was in Great Lakes, Illinois. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. So I had to call my dad out of state. Luckily, it was the same time zone. Wow. And it's like he said, "No, you just have to stay there for the weekend." So it was a humiliating call to make that collect phone call.
Yeah, that's what I had to. They
Dude, set the charge.
My mom's like, "What? We're getting charged for this? Like what? You know?"
You do set the charges.
Yeah. So having to talk to my mom. Luckily, my parents were so behind me, so encouraging, so loving. At that time, even though they were doing their best, they didn't know why they couldn't reach me. They didn't know why I was so unhappy and so, I wouldn't say depressed, but really just distant and disconnected and frustrated. And I'd even become an atheist at the time, saying there is no God. There's no way there's a God. I don't believe in God, partially in spite of my parents, just to spite them. And I picked up the phone and I told my mom, like, I'm sorry. And I just heard this motherly love in this tone coming from her, saying, don't worry, Chris, we're going to get through this. And hearing that from my family and my dad just had me wake up, had my heart, imagine my heart like jump starting again to the possibility of love, of something bigger than me out there. I don't know what it is, but I felt something. I felt my heart break open, and that heart breaking open felt love again, because I knew that my mom loved me to be able, like, logically, my mind was running me up to that point. And then I finally got this dose of heart feeling, heart pain that said, this is what love is. Pay attention. Wake up. And so I went back to my bunk after getting off the call. Luckily, I was only in there for about 2 days. But I get off the phone and I start journaling and writing to myself, why did I get here? What am I going to do to make sure that I never get back in this place? I never find myself in this place again. I don't deserve to be in here. Like I'm not supposed to be with these people. I was raised with too good of values, too much love, too much care to be in here. This is not acceptable. Never again. And how am I going to make sure that other people don't have to go through this? Because if I'm dealing with this, then other people are suffering with this too. Other people in my generation. So I got out and immediately I started working on myself and working on my life. And initially it was just honestly to look good for the judge. I started going to donate my time for the homeless and the needy, handing out food every other weekend at a shelter. And I did that. And then I also started going to Toastmasters. I started to develop my communication abilities. Thumbs up. That's right, Kevin. That's right. So I started developing my communication and leadership abilities, because I knew no matter where I go in life, it's critical that I'm an effective communicator. I must be able to reach people. So I started studying the art of communication. I became the secretary of the club immediately. Then I jumped up to the vice president of education, and the president, taking on leadership roles as much as possible. Everyone, whoever's listening, step up in your leadership capacity. Ask how you can serve. How can I volunteer? How can I get to these events, to these places 30 minutes early? How can I jump onto Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or these other online masterminds and groups and ask how I can serve more? How can I serve? What do you need? What does our community need? And start inquiring into that. Start being in the inquiry, discovering what are the problems in your communities that you're a part of. We're a part of a lot of different communities. We have family, we have school, we have education, we have personal development, we have golfing, whatever it is. We have all these different communities. So ask how you can serve.
Well, and I'm glad you say that, because that is a part of the whole giving back, about the putting out if you believe in karma, and I do, that whatever you're putting out there into the universe is going to come back. It's also going to come back to you. Mm-hmm. I've been told it comes back to you tenfold. So if you're going to go out there and want to beat people up and do really negative things, more negative things are going to be happening to you.
Yeah.
And when you're saying about being in jail, that was I was going to call it, that is your rock bottom.
Yep.
And if there's one good thing that I've always heard about, when you hit rock bottom, it's only up from there.
That's right.
Go any lower than the rock bottom.
That's right. And I was just listening to Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks today, amazing philosophy about the law of attraction and really cool stuff. And she said that it's such a wonder why people who are spiraling downward, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to get out of that spiral, especially financially, right? Financially spiraling downward. And then once they hit bankruptcy, once they hit that rock bottom, they bounce back up, and then they go out and get, millions of dollars and become successful and invest in all these things. because once you've hit that rock bottom, like you said, Kevin, only way to go is up. So, well, shoot, I'm already at the bottom. All right, let's stop fearing. Let's stop thinking about the bottom.
And you survived.
Yeah.
It didn't kill you. It wasn't as negative as you thought it was going to be. I mean, so we're okay. I mean, even if you talk about feeding the homeless, I mean, a lot of them have hit rock bottom. I know a lot of them that are by choice because they don't want to be with having all the responsibilities. I get that, but a lot of them have hit rock bottom, and a lot of people have turned around and made great things happen.
Yep.
So I mean, I've met a guy that came to a conference I was at, and this was about 2 years ago. He was 2 years prior, he was homeless. He was homeless for a few years, and then he started actually a food bank, and it ended up with this is donated food and stuff like that, and he ended up turning it into a very successful business.
Wow.
But he had been he knew what people were going through that were homeless at that time.
Yeah, that relatability that creates, whether you have been in a divorce, whether you have been homeless, whether you have had things happen in your company, in your business, whatever, that you got taken advantage of, or you hit that rock bottom moment. It creates relatability with people, and I think that's one of the most important things about telling your story. I love helping influencers tell their story more effectively. Yes, all the success and the inspiration and what's possible is good, and don't stay there too long, because most people can't relate to that huge success. Most people are so focused on their problems and the things that are going wrong in their life and how they're stuck, and who's this Joe Schmo think he is, talking about all his success. Now, if you talk about the failures and the wisdom that you've gained from your failures, people can feel that pain. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I get you, Joe Schmo. I get you. Like that lesson hits me in the soul. And I'm going to make sure that I take on this wisdom, because I don't want to end up like you. Like I'm either a few steps away from that, and I'm going to make sure that I don't do that, or that's an area of my life that I'm committed to succeeding in. So I'm going to make sure that I take this wisdom to heart. And that's so important to have that relatability.
And I agree. And there's a few people that I follow in my life right now where a couple of them are just like 2 steps ahead of me.
Yep.
Like, I just want to ride your coattails. I want to see what you're doing so I can learn faster and get past those issues. And going back to one of the things you said before when I gave you a thumbs up, you talked about Toastmasters.
Yeah.
I used to belong to Toastmasters. I've given a few talks there, and I let it go. And then I've been back. And you and I both went to Train the Trainer class through another personal growth company. Amazing. And literally today is Friday, February 2nd, as you said. On January 31st, I rejoined the Toastmasters.
Wow!
My first talk with them on the 7th.
Congrats, man!
When you're doing your marathon, I'll be doing my next Toastmasters talk.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So one of the reasons I bring that up is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be leading people, Toastmasters is a great way to get the confidence, because there's going to be times that you're going to have to give presentations to large groups of people, and if you're completely terrified of public speaking, you're going to pooch the deal. But if you're going to Toastmasters and you're starting to learn how to be in front of people, then I think that's going to be a great opportunity. So for all of you that are listening out there or watching the show, go to Toastmasters.org and do a search for all the Toastmasters in your vicinity. Definitely.
And there's three other reasons why I joined. One is giving presentations, being a better speaker. The second is table topics is in Toastmasters. And ladies and gentlemen, life is going to throw you some freaking curveballs, and you better be ready to handle them. And the table topics portion is where you're given a random topic to speak on, and you have almost no time to prepare a speech for it. You just jump up and craft your speech on the fly in your head and deliver it powerfully as you can. And how do you drive this point home? How do you articulate it in a way do you use a story? Do you use examples? Do you use data? How do you do that in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, simple, small, short? And how good are you at being on the ball? That's number 2, is be able to adapt to life. So powerful. The third reason is the ability to give feedback. The ability to give constructive feedback. In Toastmasters, there are evaluations. And these evaluations, giving people evaluations, is one of the most effective skills that you can learn in Toastmasters, because being able to give constructive, powerful, useful, definitive, clear, and not sugarcoating it feedback is one of the most necessary skills as a leader. If you're leading people, you have to learn how to give it to people so that they receive it. They are open to hearing it. So you can't be a jerk and be honest. You have to do it in a loving way that they want to receive it. But you also have to tell them the truth, because there's so many people who are sugarcoating information, sugarcoating feedback, sugarcoating and being this political nicey nice. And that's not what we need. We need honest truth. The truth is what we need, and deliver it in a way that leaves them empowered and uplifted. So Toastmasters teaches us how to do that. And lastly, leadership. Be the leader. Step up into these leadership roles. What better place can you go pay, like what, 50 or $100, something like that, for 6 months, and gain the ability to lead a group of people, to step up to these leadership positions and contribute to people, and be an organizer, be an influencer, have your self-esteem raise up because you know you are responsible for the success of this club. It's really empowering. So I highly recommend Toastmasters.
And the thing is also it's in a safe environment.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's to me the biggest thing. And then a corollary to your topic before that was about giving constructive feedback, is being actually being on the receiving end, being open to be receiving constructive feedback.
Yep.
Because a lot of people, I know I do every once in a while. Can I be honest with you for a second? Like, oh my gosh, I'd rather you not, but okay. I mean, this happened to me literally a week and a half ago.
Wow.
With somebody, I gave my book, Designing Your Own Destiny. I gave it to her about 2-3 weeks ago. And she happened to be in a group of us, and she had the book. The first thing she said to me was, "Kevin, are you open to some criticism?" And I just suddenly put my hand to my head, thinking like, "No, I don't want to hear this criticism." And then I used to, okay, here comes Virgin. Second edition has to come out now. But she said everything was positive. I mean, everything was. So it was constructive feedback saying that this was an amazing. She only done the first 6 or 7 chapters.
So cool.
But I did not know she was going to get positive or negative. However, I ended up being open to it. So you know what, you giving me feedback will only make me better. I mean, let's say if I put on a shirt that does not look good on me, and I say, "Hey, Chris, how does this look?" You go, "Oh, dude, you look great." Now I'm going to go out in public with that shirt. I'm going to go out in public with you with that shirt.
No.
So you have to be able to give that constructive feedback and not be, like you say, not sugarcoat or beat around the bush.
Yeah.
But you could also say it in a great way. It's like, dude, that shirt doesn't match. That pink shirt does not go well with your complexion. So,
yeah.
Well, so how did you get into the coaching business then? Well, how did you get into that? How long have you been doing that for?
Yeah, so we've been doing it for 3 years. I created Burn Up Coaching in November of 2014, so a little over 3 years, and I brought on my business partner 2 years ago. He's helped me a lot with the systems and legal and executive skills. He's great, but I started it because I was looking for my path in life. And while I was still in Toastmasters, I had joined and taken on these leadership roles. I said, I want to grow. I want to be more. I want to become more. And luckily, there was a life coach in our Toastmasters group, and there's a guy named Lee Adams, and he's an amazing, amazing guy. And I got the pleasure to work with him for about a year, and he coached me on how to be more loving, how to achieve our goals. He used Bob Proctor's Thinking into Results system, which is an amazing, amazing system. And Bob Proctor, shout out to Bob Proctor, one of my first teachers and people who I learned from his processes, his systems. And I was able to work one-on-one with this coach, with this mentor, Lee Adams. Up until that point, I didn't really have anyone who I aspired to be like. I had bosses that weren't really someone who I wanted to be like. They weren't, they just were a manager, and you're just managing me. I respect you and you're a leader, but I don't want to be like you. And so this guy, Lee Adams, came into my life, and he had built a successful business. I think he made $18 million in revenue one year, and he had a electronics components or appliance store in Southern California. And I just saw potential within me when I was around him. So everyone listening, surround yourself with people who draw that potential out of you, who cause you to think bigger. I mentioned about outgrowing our problems. Find people around you who challenge you to raise your level of thinking so that you expand, so that you increase your capacity, not only just for your own problem, because most of the problems that we deal with are really small problems. And in fact, I don't even believe that there are really any problems. They're all gifts. They're all growth opportunities. They're all things to play with, just to be curious about. Circumstances. The truth is there's facts and there's circumstances, and we label those as problems. So I invite you to choose it's a growth opportunity. It's a challenge to grow. And Lee had me expand my mind to be able to see the challenges and growth opportunities that I was dealing with at the time were just something to grow through and to bring gratitude, to bring love to that mindset. And I didn't know I wanted to be a coach then. We were trying to figure out, what is it that I'm supposed to do? I started off with Fiverr, doing copywriting, doing communication, writing proofreading, writing best man speeches and articles, all kinds of amazing stuff. It was so much fun. And so that's where I just started getting into entrepreneurship. And in truth, I had a lot of entrepreneurial minded tendencies in video games. I like to make money in the video games. I did lemonade stands, sold Pokemon cards, did all kinds of amazing stuff like that, right? Like I had this entrepreneurial spirit in me, at least a little bit. And so I started going onto Fiverr and playing around on there, and it wasn't really bringing in the income that I needed. And so I jumped around from a couple different sales positions, working as a fitness director for a boot camp, the sales marketing director. And then I also worked sales door to door for Verizon, a distributor of Verizon. That was a challenge. 9 months hitting the pavement, knocking on businesses' doors, just selling phone lines and internet. It was tough. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have a tough but growth-filled opportunity, go do sales. Go do door-to-door sales. It'll teach you who you are. It'll show you what you're made of.
Well, because you could get a lot of rejection on that. So
yes,
you need to learn how to deal with that rejection.
Yes, and it's persistence too. You just where's the opportunity? Where is the opportunity? Finding the opportunity. Where is it located in this complex? Is it here? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's at another facility. How do you manage your time? How do you manage your leads and information that you're using to be able to make sales? It's skills of entrepreneurship. Managing your own business, managing your own book of business is so powerful. And I jumped around to a couple different businesses, and eventually I hired another coach who was a marketing and business coach, and he started showing me the fundamentals of business. And so I said, okay, well, I know these principles. I'd been doing personal development, going to Toastmasters, new communication. I was pretty smart. So a lot of the principles that I was able to receive from coaching, I was able to give it to the people around me. I was able to teach it. I was able to package it up and put it out for people to test and implement and find out what works in their life. And people would come to me for advice and ask me questions on how to do these things. And I enjoyed solving problems or solving growth opportunities and inspiring people to think bigger and outgrow their problems. So that's really how I started off as a coach. And of course, there's all these detours in life, and I jumped around to a couple different opportunities and worked in the niche of infopreneurship, authors, speakers, coaches, learned more online digital marketing, built a 1,000-person Facebook group about 2 years ago, and that was a lot of fun, and got my chops into that, and just found myself keep coming back to my own business and my own brand and Burn It Up Coaching and developing myself, because we'll probably be getting into this in a bit, but one of the big challenges that I had was wanting to take personal responsibility for my life. I was afraid to be in charge. I was so afraid. I came from this middle-class family, commuting to college, didn't move out, stayed at home, stayed in my room a lot. I was like a kid, I was like this entitled, spoiled brat who didn't want to take on any responsibility. But I started taking on these small opportunities such as Toastmasters. But when it came to a business and people's money and people's results and their happiness, that was a whole new level of responsibility that I was just not ready for.
You didn't want to be that manager, or you didn't want to be that leader.
Right. And all the signs kept pointing back to me, like in this infopreneur company that I was doing. I was seen as the leader of the company. People saw me as the authority, as the go-to person to know everything about the digital marketing and to run the company, to inspire people, to enroll people, to set the vision, to set the pace, and to keep everything together. But I didn't know how to do that. Or at least I said I didn't. I thought I didn't. And I believed that I didn't. And so I would find ways to self-sabotage. And of course, I was doing my best. Of course, I had blind spots of why I did the things that I did, why I only performed at a certain level. Hindsight, I'm able to see that, right? Hindsight is 2020. But during those times, I just knew that I was uncomfortable and it wasn't working. We weren't making the profit that we wanted. We weren't growing as much as we wanted. And the team was falling apart. So what do? Well, for me, it's to go back to what I know works, and that's go get a job. And for everyone out there who's listening, I just say praise and be grateful for sources of income, no matter what they look like, no matter what you've been taught, no matter what happens, how difficult it is, how much of a pain it is. If you're able to maintain your livelihood and support yourself and sustain yourself, and there are channels of abundance and income and money coming to you, be grateful for that. Receive that and bless that abundance that's coming your way. Even if you hate your boss, even if you hate your job, do it until you can get something better. Mm-hmm. And that better thing will come to you when you practice gratitude for what you already have. Because he who can be grateful and appreciative and the good steward of the few, of the little, of the not so important, of the things that most people wouldn't be grateful for, can then be trusted with the bigger things. And I think that that's one of my challenges. Is I wasn't really as grateful as I could have been for having this company, whether it was Burn It Up Coaching, whether it was this infopreneur company. I wasn't as grateful as I could have been. I felt entitled still. And I thought it was all owed to me. This success was owed to me. Why isn't it happening faster? Why aren't we making more money? Like, I took the leap. Come on, I took the leap, God. What the heck? I took the leap. Isn't it supposed to start flowing to me? I burned the boats. Like, come on, aren't we supposed to start seeing the oceans of abundance? Isn't that how it works?
I'm sure you learned to become humble since then.
Oh man, yes.
Because that can be very humbling. Because, like you said, you spend a year trying to build this business, and say you're making zero to or very little income.
Very little.
And it's like, man, I don't want to go back and wait tables again, or I don't want to go back and do whatever it is that you may be familiar with doing.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I started learning as well is, I'm in my 20s right now, still a young guy, thank God. And a lot of people, it's way later in life that they discover this. So I'm grateful I've discovered this entrepreneurship, this passion, building platforms such as the 12-hour marathon, showcasing awesome guests and putting their message in the spotlight. But one of my challenges has been really receiving the gifts that I've been given and playing with those gifts, I wonder how I can show up today. I wonder how I can go to this job and have 40 hours a week dedicated to making a paycheck, and then get out and be creative enough to still keep building this thing and have a life and, enjoy myself and take care of myself and be fit and healthy. Like, at first I was like, oh, this sucks. But as I evolved over time, I said, how can I play with this? How can I be curious about this? How can I discover? How can I be adventurous throughout this process? And I started adapting my mindset to be that way, so that no matter what happens, no matter where I'm at, I create opportunities to be grateful, to be expansive, to be the best Chris Burns that I can be, no matter where I'm at.
Okay. Well, you've covered a lot of successes, and you talked about some challenges there as well. What about some of your fears? What were some of your big fears when you're getting started, or even now?
Yeah. So I would say even today, It's disappointing my clients, not being enough, right? This not enough conversation has been running me my entire life. Like, I'm here to prove a point that Chris Burns is enough. That's the story that's running the show, just so everyone knows. And the power comes in distinguishing it and saying, hey, the story's running you, Chris. Put it to the side. And who do you say you are? Oh, I say I'm this awesome, contributing, loving, kind, compassionate, graceful, service-minded human being. That's who I am. Not the egotistical, self-centered Chris, although it is important to be self-interested, and enlightened self-interest is healthy, and money is good. For everyone who's listening, money is good. Money is energy, and whatever your habits are, whatever your beliefs are, money just amplifies whatever that is. So money is good. Money is awesome. I love money. And my fear is disappointing my clients, not being enough, not being able to break them through their stuff, not being the savior that I want to be for them.
But that's up to them.
What's that?
That's up to them, though.
Exactly. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's not about Chris. It is not about Chris. I'm here to give them the choice. I'm here to say, let's put our heads together. Let's create some solutions, create actions, give you the tools, give you the steps, and know that I got your back no matter what happens. And you have to take the steps.
Yes.
You must take the steps. I can't take them for you. As much as my coaches wish they could have taken the steps for me, I'm not able to take the steps for my clients. And that's one of the biggest challenges.
And I can fully understand where you're coming from on there, because as a coach myself, but even before I was a coach, it's up to the client, it's up to the student, it's up to the person that you're coaching to implement that stuff. And I know I used to teach college. I used to teach college mathematics, and when I gave a test, people that did poorly on the test, is like, I felt so internally hurt. Like, what did I do to help people, do better on the test? Why didn't they? What could I do differently? And then it took me a couple of years before I realized it's not about me. It's their lack of preparation. It's their lack of implementation. It's their lack of commitment. Yeah. That's why they got the results that they did. Okay, I have to fail you. I gave you a D or a C minus, whatever it is.
And
but
that could be the best thing that ever happened to them.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like that wake-up call.
Well, I mean, just like I told you, back in Easter weekend '86, I was going through not boot camp, obviously, but I was going through my what they call A school. I was going through my service training, and when I got back on base, they were saying, by the way, says you're now UA, which stands for unauthorized absence, and they say being in jail is no excuse to be UA. You're supposed to still be here at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Just because you screw up in the civilian world doesn't mean the military world is going to forgive you for that. So I had to go to captain's mass for that. Luckily, they saw the light. But I mean, I looked at that. It was like, okay. And I was also in the nuclear power program at the time, which is actually one of the most prestigious programs in the Navy, or at least back then, or actually any of the militaries. And when I went to take my final exam, I had to maintain a 90 GPA. I missed one question too many on the test. I made 89.86 GPA. And they would have gave me a waiver to stay in the program, but then they said, well, we don't give second waivers. You're out of the nuke power program. Wow. The whole reason I joined the Navy.
Wow.
I could have looked at it and beat myself up for that. It's like, okay, I just wasted 5 years of my life. I just did all of this, and I'm only 9 months in. And then I was put into what's called a temporary processing unit, what we call TPU. And because the military loves acronym, loves.
Yeah.
That's just it. Toastmasters does too.
Yeah.
And after 3 months, they actually, I put in a dream sheet to say, well, if you could be wherever you want to be, where would you want to be? I would say, well, Japan, Guam, whatever. And then I got stationed in Japan. So I got to live 4 years of my life on ship stationed in Japan, where I got to end up seeing 13 countries, experience other cultures, other languages, where I'm the minority. My religion is the minority. I got to experience that. But all of that goes back to Easter weekend, 1986. Helping a friend not get into a bar fight, which got me arrested and our other shipmate arrested. I mean, I could have been, that negative thing. If you reframe it, how do you
Mm,
see the positive from that? From that,
yeah. Yeah.
it's
What's the
like you being
gift?
thrown in jail for going to the club that night.
What's the
Probably
gift?
one of the best things that's ever happened to you.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And it could have been so much worse too. Like I said, the charges were dropped, case was dismissed. It could have been so much worse and difficult and arduous, like challenges up.
Well, just look at that. Well, what if it was worse? What if they didn't drop the charges?
Man, then
How
I
much
would I would I would have to have been even more determined to overcome.
Well, because you see people that were ex gangbangers, they're
Yeah.
now. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So sometimes these perceived negative things, well, it could be the most positive thing. That divorce, that getting fired from a job, that
Yep.
it could be. It may not seem the best at the time that it occurred, but
Yeah.
what gain can you get from that?
Yeah.
And when we were talking about fears, there was a quote that I heard a couple of days ago, and I kind of reframed it.
Huh?
And they're saying, like say if you're looking to try to get your business going and you have that fear,
Mhm.
I want you to reframe that. Like
Mm.
if say you join Toastmasters, you've got that fear of giving your icebreaker talk, which is your very first talk.
Mhm.
But there's one thing that's even worse than fear. If you saw my Facebook post today, you probably saw what it was.
What? I didn't see it.
Okay, there's one thing that's worse than fear. What would you think it is?
Death.
No, regret.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So let's say you have these aspirations of being a public speaker, but you don't want to join the Toastmasters. You don't want to get out there in front of the stage, and then 5 years from now,
Still
I wish I
stuck.
would have done it. I wish I would have done it
Dang.
back then.
Yeah, there's Jim Rohn, classic personal development teacher. So you're going to suffer one of two pains, no matter what. You're going to suffer one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline means you don't get to have whatever you want, instant gratification right now,
Hmm.
yet you get what you want later. Pain of regret is you get what you want now, but that temporary high, that temporary fulfillment, the temporary, this is kind of, and then it's gone. And
Hmm.
that is gone so fast. And then people build their lives upon those temporary fulfillment, the temporary pleasure, the drinking, the meaningless sex, the whatever it is. And
Overeating, not eating healthy.
Exactly. And then they look back in 5, 10, 20 years with all of that regret. So you hit the nail on the head with that one.
So, and well, as we're getting close to the end of the show, so we covered some of your challenges, some of your fears. What about some of your early or more recent failures that you're okay to share? I mean, you don't have to get.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sure. So for me, like I'm still dealing with this. Failure is not being able to keep up with the pace of my 12-hour marathon. Like I am I don't like to use the word struggling, but to most people, I'm struggling to keep up with this because we have up to 9 interviews every week, 9 guest interviews, and I have to do pre-calls. I get to do pre-calls before 30-minute, 30-minute pre-calls. Plus, I'm running my coaching business. Plus, I do the marathon. Plus, afterwards, there is the video and the audio editing of the podcast, chopping things up, processing it, all that good stuff, making the graphics. It's basically I'm a one-man team doing a lot of this. Now, luckily, I have brought on interns to be helping me out and helping grow the business, helping facilitate some of the video and audio editing, helping out a lot. So I'm grateful for them. And it's a challenge, man. The failure is the breakdown is not having the systems in place, not having clear communication, not having priorities set, not following my calendar to a T. I deviate from my calendar sometimes, and I look back at after I'm done at the end of the day. Like when it comes to calls, those I hit every time. It's like boom, 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 like integrity, hardcore when it comes to the instant calls. Yet when it comes to when people aren't depending on me necessarily, and it's business development, it's writing, it's stuff that isn't necessarily urgent, but I know it's important, that stuff is a challenge for me to stay prioritized, to stay laser focused. And I'm really grateful for this growth opportunity because I get to develop my character behind the scenes too. I'm a great performer. When I'm on the camera, I love showing up. I love playing 110%. And I'm like this everywhere in life. And there's certain times when I fall short of my own expectations, my own knowingness of what my capacity is. So I would say that's a big one, is being able to handle all the guests, all the episodes. And we've been kind of backed up in terms of releasing the podcast episodes. And now I'm getting on top of that. Earlier today, I was editing the videos and the audios myself because I had delegated it to a team, and that delegation wasn't working as effectively as I'd liked it to. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it because I've done it before and I know how to do it. So let's execute. Let's get it done. That's another thing I love about being a leader, is always be willing to do whatever you would ask someone else to do. Always be willing to take out the trash. You're never too good to go take out the trash if that is what is called of you to do. So that's been a big challenge. I would say another big challenge is, keeping my health on point. I've been very much so a failure in terms of eating the right foods. Or I guess failing. I'm not a failure. I fail. I don't achieve the specified target result of eating greens, eating way more greens than I'm eating right now. I eat some lean cuisine, organic, microwave stuff, but it's this instant meal mentality, instant gratification mentality that I'm still shifting. See, all these patterns of our childhood, all these patterns that we picked up from our parents or wherever it might be from, they resonate in so many different areas of life. And it's important to be hyper vigilant about being the person who you say you are, who you can be, and developing your character to be that person in all areas of life. I go to the gym a ton, but if I go home and I eat pizzas and I eat whatever else that doesn't facilitate me being an optimal performer, me being my greatest possible self, then other people, it's out of integrity with what I know I'm capable of. So constantly working on that integrity, constantly cleaning things up, and finishing and delivering communications that I feel like things I should have said. Oftentimes I love being nice and cordial and making sure everything goes with the flow. And sometimes people just need the straight, hard truth, and they need to hear it. They have to hear it. And I get to be that messenger. So stepping up into that role has also been a challenge and a fear of mine to some degree. And I'm growing through it, and I'm grateful for it.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and that's really powerful words that you said there.
Thank you.
So, and I was going to make a joke. I don't know if I'm going to do it now. Oh, I'll go ahead and do it.
Shit, go for it.
You can handle this. As I was going to say, there's a website that can help you with your editing and of your videos and audio.
Fiverr. Yep.
Because I know I've used them before myself for a few earlier episodes as well. So, and it was like $30.
They're great. Super affordable.
Yeah, because it was like $30 to do a show. And, back then I was taking all the ums, and it was more crisp and clean. It wasn't organic. And after I asked I did a Facebook poll, and people wanted more organic than crisp and clean because it sounded more real. Then that's when I stopped using the guide and said, you know what, I'm going to keep all the ums and uhs in. I'm going to keep some of the stuff. And now glaring noises, I would take those out, obviously. So if somebody were to drop some dishes in your background right now, I would take that out.
Yep. Yep.
But the thing is, just get it out there, and then. But if and this is for you entrepreneurs out there, if it's within your budget to hire it out, then you have to look at the thing of what is the return on your investment. Totally. If you do it yourself, and it takes you 3 hours, but you can hire somebody else to do it for $30, let's just say. Now you're now doing a $10 an hour job. Mm-hmm. And if you're a coach and you say, okay, I'm charged $250 an hour for my coaching, then why are you trading your time for $10 an hour? So you have to look at it that way, because that's how a businessman would look at it. That's how a businesswoman would look at it. Because these are, like you say, you have interns. Usually interns are working for free or very low. They're working for experience.
Yeah.
And actually, I was just hearing a Gary Vee show, and this was just maybe, I don't know which episode it was like a week ago. And he was talking, interviewing somebody, and they're essentially saying the exact same that Chris has said is when you start getting your name out there, then it becomes valuable for somebody to come to your office to work for free as an intern, because now they say, I've already been working with Chris and to be your GPS or Bernadette Coaching, because that's becoming a much more recognized name.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's just like, hey, this is great. My little brother, perfect example. When he was in college during the summer, he did internships at a company, which he then, when he got out of college and got his master's degree, he ended up working for them full time. He still works for them, and he achieved levels of greatness inside that business earlier than everybody else because he was promoted from within from his previous experience.
Yeah.
So, don't think that you always have to hire people to do this stuff. Maybe going the intern route, it would be a great way to go.
And barter. Like barter is such an untapped training and skill set that people desperately need. Someone should make a course on bartering.
Well, isn't there a barter.com or something like that?
I don't know.
Because an ex-girlfriend of mine, she used to do things on barter because she didn't make much money doing what she was doing, and she had skills with putting jewelry together, so she would make jewelry together for other people to do other stuff for her. So there is. I think it might be barter.com. I'll have to check that out when we're done with the show.
Yeah.
So, Chris, any last words, any last tidbits of advice that you would give a entrepreneur, a budding, brand new out-of-the-box entrepreneur, or somebody looking to scale their business? Anything that you would like to share with them?
Yeah, I believe that business is a facet, is a part of life. You can't take humanness and people out of business. They will always be in business. And one thing that I've really been resonating on recently is how finite our time is. I've been grateful. I've been practicing so much gratitude, meditating 15 minutes in the morning, writing 15 minutes straight of gratitude to program myself to think certain thoughts, to show up in the world in a certain way, to be grateful. And I spent this last weekend, about 5 days ago, meditating at a cemetery because I had never been to a cemetery and just contemplated death like that. Now, it might sound a little bit morbid, kind of strange, but here's the thing. I knew what my intention was when I went there. My intention, my commitment, my outcome was to come out of that meditation, come out of that experience supercharged, knowing that death could happen any second. Mm-hmm. I could not be here in 1 second from now or 24 hours from now or whatever. Tomorrow is not promised. Yesterday is gone. All we have is the present. This moment is everything. So I invite our listeners to really take on that this moment is everything. And today, since it's all we have, let's make it a good day. Better yet, let's make it a great day. Better yet, let's make it the best day ever. Because it's all we have every single day. It's the best day ever. And if you're caught up in the comparison mindset, oh, well, what if I get my mansion or I get married or I get the $1 million or I travel the world in a week from now or tomorrow? Won't tomorrow be the best day ever? It's going to be great. It is going to be the best day ever. And don't let that steal from your present moment, because on the other extreme, if you're not having a great day, if you say, today sucks, you wake up, you stub your toe, you're walking out the door and you run into something, and then you go to Starbucks and you're in this bad mood. And then, for example, Jim Carrey shows up in your environment, in the Starbucks. Your negativity is no way in heck are you going to be able to resonate with Jim Carrey's awesomeness and his epic perspective on life and the opportunity that is Jim Carrey. Okay. Now, if you had gotten up in the morning, you said, today's the best day ever. I am so excited for today. This is awesome. And you go out, and it depends on who you want to connect with. I want to connect with people like Jim Carrey and awesome, brilliant visionaries. you go into a Starbucks and I go in and I'm saying, man, today's the best day ever. And then Jim Carrey shows up. I'm like, oh my God, Jim Carrey, what is up, dude? I had a feeling you were going to show up today. I just felt it. I knew today was the best day ever. And he's like, he gets to be a part of that. He gets to be a part of your best day ever. So that's just an example. But think about what else might be able to show up in your life when every day is the best day ever. Think of how your reticular activating system, your RAS, your filter for what you pay attention to. Again, let's go back to the other scenario. We stub our toe, we run into the door. Man, today sucks. There might be $100 on the floor, but you don't see it because you believe today sucks. Mm-hmm. But if you say today's the best day ever, and you're walking along and you're aware of the opportunities of how today is the best day ever, you'll see the $100 and you'll say, wow, $100, I knew it. Today's the best day ever. So what else might show up in your space? Commit to making every day your best day ever. This moment is all we have, and be grateful, love life, and have a lot of fun.
Now, that is a great thing that you just said right there, because in the reticular activation system, in case you guys don't know, is what you focus on is what you're going to see.
Yep.
Like, and the most classic example of that, you're driving down the road, it's noon, and you're hungry. So all of a sudden you tune out everything else, and all you see is the restaurants. The following day, you had an early lunch, you drive down the exact same road, and all of a sudden your check engine light comes on. All of those restaurants, all those other things go out. Now all of the service stations will suddenly appear.
Yeah.
That's what what you're talking about. So if you're going there into the world saying today's the best day ever, what are you focusing on? You're only focusing on the good stuff. You're not focusing on the negative.
Yep, exactly.
And there's another thing I'd like to add on to this. Definitely keep the positive mindset, positive attitude. But one of the things I sometimes like to do when I get up in the morning before I even put my feet on the ground is I like to ask myself, what am I going to manifest today?
Great question.
What am I going to manifest today? Okay, I'm going to manifest this. And you just go through the things like kind of your smaller goals that you're going to be getting done that day.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to manifest Jim Carrey being at the coffee shop. Whatever.
Yes.
So Chris, as we're wrapping up here, if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Do you have a website or?
Yeah. So my website, Be Your GPS, BEYOUR GPS, pretty simple, beyourgps.com. That's where you can find the podcast, the show, 12-hour marathon replays of the individual interviews. And then you can also find me on Facebook, send me a message, and let me know that you heard about me from Kevin's show. And that's facebook.com/TH3 Burns, like the Burns, but with a 3 instead of the E. TH3 Burns.
Okay, so that's TH3 Burns, spelled B as in boy, URNS.
Yep.
And then again, this is Christopher Burns is on our show today. And if they want to get a hold of you for coaching, they'll just get a hold of you through Facebook, or they'll be able to get through your beyourgps.com.
Yeah, so either one of those work. And if you want to schedule a strategy session with me, you can go to beyourgps.com/strategy session.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for listening on today's show. Chris, it's been amazing that you've been here. And for those of you that may also like hearing or doing a strategy session with me as well, if you just type into your cell phones, go to where you'll be sending the telephone number, but use the number 40691, type in the word podcast, send that to mine. That's my short code. And then I will create a strategy session.
Fancy, man. I like that.
Hey, dude, I love doing that because
say it again. What is it? What is it again?
You text to 40691 and type in the word podcast.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Put you on the show. Now, one great thing about doing that, Chris, because by having a short code or even a telephone texting service number like through Scipio, is that when I go out on stage, I say, okay, everybody, I need you to take out your cell phones right now. I know you already have it on silence, but if you want to get today's thing, today's program onto your phone, the workbook, just type in, and then I get a 4 or 5, 6, 7 letter word and have it go to the 40691. Now they're on my texting system and possibly even email system.
Love it. I love it.
Wow. We are entrepreneurs. Now, for those of you out there that are budding entrepreneurs, you have to think outside of the box of how do you start connecting with your clients. Now, these clients could just be, at this stage, they're just prospects. because a coaching session or strategy session with either one of us, we may not be a good fit for them. So you just never know, because that's the whole point of the strategy session is, are you a good fit? My best friend just had a coaching session without a strategy session, a paid coaching session, and she felt the coach spoke more about him than about her, listening to her.
Wow.
She spent $90 for an hour that she thought was a waste of her time. But by having that coaching session, they would have figured that out before they would have even gone down that road. So, well, anyway, Chris, I do want to say thank you again for being on the show. It was an honor having you here. And for those of you online, you can go to beyourgps.com or to kevinadunlap.com for myself. And one of us would love to help you guys out. So Chris, I want to say thank you. And everybody in the audience, everybody have a good afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Life's Little Lessons with your host, author of Designing Your Own Destiny, Kevin A. Dunlap. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit kevinadunlap.com, facebook.com/kevinadunlap.author, and on Twitter @KevinADunlap. We'll catch you on the next episode of Life's Little Lessons.